My name is Andrew Bohn. I'm the CEO of Ocean Logistics, which operates a fleet of 9 tugboats, landing craft and barges in Vanuatu and the surrounding region. And today I want to talk about a subsidiary company that Ocean Logistics has called Archipel Solutions. Archipel Solutions was created in 2024. Originally, it was a fuel station in the island. So we started with a single fuel station. We now have 4 fuel stations. In each of those fuel stations, we've now built a small hardware retail warehouse next to each of the fuel stations. So we're supplying the islands of Epi and Pentecost with fuel, clean quality fuel that's transported by our landing craft, LCT Ocean Chief. And we're also supplying basic hardware building materials such as cement, roofing sheets, iron roofing sheets, steel rebar for foundations, screws and fasteners and fixings, nails. It's not everything that you'd find at the major hardwares in Port Vila and Luganville, but it is pre-positioned on the islands and it tremendous assistance to the local people when they're running a project. If they run short on anything, they can go to our local hardwares and they can purchase it on the island. And that's a big change from in the past where if you're building something in the islands and you run short, you've got to travel to Port Vila or Luganville to purchase more or ask somebody, a relative, to put it on a ship. And sometimes you're waiting days, weeks, or even months for those materials to arrive. So it's not just individuals. We've been supporting schools and other government projects, building projects in the islands with building materials and also fuel to keep those buildings and projects on track. We've supported Public Works Department with roading projects on Epi, MI, Pentecost, and also Ambi. So we're finding it's a great service, but the business relies heavily on shipping. So we're fortunate as Ocean Logistics, the parent company of Archipel Solutions. We have our own ships and we're able to provide that maritime logistics support and maritime transportation from Port Vila and Luganville to the islands. It's a pretty big effort, pretty big logistics effort to keep the fuel stations supplied with fuel and the warehouses supplied with cement and other materials to keep people building in the islands. And I guess really the whole purpose of this video is just to give some justification as to why we feel that Vanuatu government should be considering and treating the Vanuatu-based shipping industry as critical infrastructure. We are essentially the roads that connect the islands. So you can build a road, you can build an airport, you can build a wharf, but you still need the ships to connect the islands. And that's why the government of Vanuatu should be considering, as an island nation, that our shipping industry is critical infrastructure and the industry should be well supported. It should be well supported with further investment in wharf infrastructure, which connects the road infrastructure to the wharves, to the ships, to other wharfs back in Luganville, Port Vila, as we are the sea link between the islands. So very important industry. I know I'm biased because I'm working in this industry, but I think that it's actually credible that Vanuatu-based maritime industry should be considered by the Vanuatu government as critical infrastructure, treated as such and supported in our efforts to grow our individual companies, grow our industry. And what does that support look like? I think the support looks like reinvesting in the Vanuatu Maritime College, which is currently underway, and prioritizing the college so that we can increase the quality of young Vanuatu coming into the workforce, into the maritime workforce. That we make sure that we supply the shipping companies with enough high quality and trained young people as both crew, as captains and engineers, and that we also increase the amount of investment into wharf infrastructure and jetties. Now, we're not asking for grand, big wharfs built all around the country. I think for the most part of the shipping industry is operating a lot of vessels like ferries and landing craft and landing barges that have ramps. We don't need very expensive wharfs. We need a greater number, a higher volume of jetties or landing craft ramps capable where instead of dropping the ramp onto the beach and then having a very difficult loading and unloading of cargo, we'd like to just see locations where we can drop a ramp and that a forklift can drive on and off, that the ramp is level and that a forklift can drive on and off the barge to unload very quickly. And I think that would be a tremendous help to the maritime shipping industry. So whatever, I got the college for people, got wharf infrastructure or simple jetty infrastructure, but a lot of them, probably like 30 plus around the islands. And then the final one is Slipway. So some in the industry, including Ocean Logistics, we've started our own Slipway, but it's something that the government should be thinking about, whether they want to build national infrastructure, Slipway infrastructure to support the shipping industry as a whole, or to enter into a public-private partnership with one or more private operators who are currently already in that space and building their own private slipways. but it's something that it's part of the infrastructure. It'd be like trying to run your airports and the airlines like Unity Airlines or Bel Air or Air Taxi have to build their own runways and they have to build their own hangars. That doesn't even make sense. Generally, the hangars and the runways, that's going to be airport infrastructure, that's going to be government-led, and then the private operator is going to use that infrastructure. So that's one model that could work with slipways, where the government invests in the slipway and then operators use it. Or if that's just not an option at the moment with funding priorities in the government, then I would encourage government stakeholders to consider entering into a public-private partnership. Ocean Logistics would be open to it, and I'm sure there's other operators in the country who would be open to entering into a public-private partnership with the government to supply slipway services to the Vanuatu-based shipping industry. Thank you.